So folks, this particular video is directed towards the governor of the state of New York. Over 150 years of property destruction, property damage, and devastation on Lake George caused by Dam A, the international paper company Systems property dam at Ticonderoga at the Lachute River. For 150 years plus, state district attorneys, state attorney generals, commissioners of the Conservation Commission, going back to before George Pratt. Let's see. The historical record is full of newspaper articles, court proceedings, judges and court transcriptionists and people in the gallery of the court. Listen to the state of New York's agents, listen to the state of New York's representatives and the state of New York's lawyers complain of widespread and very significant damage to property all over Lake George, New York. So you've got 150 years of this damned Dam A, and water levels on the lake that are going up and down and up and down and up and down in the winter time and in the spring. Devastating islands, devastating shoreline, devastating bulkheads, or what's called seawalls, and just absolutely destroying boathouses and docks. You know, like the docks that were destroyed year after year after year after year after year after year at the Witham Family Marina at Harris Bay on Lake George, New York. So let's see, we've got hundreds of thousands of witnesses and state officials that are complaining of all these damages. Now, this is my question to the 7 townships. There's 7 townships around Lake George, and there's 3 counties. Exactly who paid for all these damages? How many times were the property owners of all this damaged private property reimbursed or remunerated, made whole by the people that are operating and controlling what they call the pinhole in the bathtub? Now, according to the courts and the appellate courts of the state of New York, the party responsible for the lake levels is the state of New York itself. The party that had the obligation to control the ice level, because it's not just the water, folks. The water's damaging enough, but the ice sheet going up and down and up and down, the ice, shredding and tearing islands, shredding and tearing boathouses, and shredding and tearing marina docks all to hell, like what was done to the Witham Family Marina again and again and again and again and again. Who paid all those damages? And that's to, I don't know, the sheriff of Warren County, the sheriff of Essex County. How about the sheriff of Washington County? Or, you know, let's get right down to it. How about the New York State Police? Who paid for all those damages that were caused by a damned system that's over half too small. It's 54% incapable of releasing water in the manner that it should, according to New York State engineers, according to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and according to the Department of the Interior, and according to, everybody else that's investigated, researched, and examined this damned dam. And they keep right on utilizing the damn dam. It's still doing it. They've got to lower the water using the rule curve. I mean, rule curve? Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that months in advance they have to decide and guess, they have to guess how much they have to lower the lake level. And then the ice freezes. And then in the spring, when the runoff and the water can't be released fast enough, the lake comes booming back up. And guess what all that ice does to boathouses and docks? Take one big fat guess. Let's think about this now. Hundreds of thousands of witnesses claim it destroys islands, seawalls, bulkheads, shoreline, boathouses, and destroys marinas like the Witham Family Marina at Harris Bay. Year after year after year after year after year after year after year. Now, there's some people up there that make a fortune from dock repairs and rebuilding docks. And quite a few of them actually are members of the Lake George Association. I call them the Lake George Park Association there. They have made a bloody fortune every spring from dock repairs. Like the Mason family, and the Matthews family, and the Hammond family. And I can go on and on and on. Every year, these people stuff their pockets with lots of money from dock repairs. So let's go back to the Attorney General of the state of New York, Mr. Schneiderman. And let's ask the Attorney General of the state of New York, who exactly is it that's paid for all these damages? Who has reimbursed the private property owners for the massive damages caused to, like Clifford and Anita Witham? Now, to sum this one up, because I know people accuse me of being long-winded, you've got state appellate court records, you've got state Supreme Court records, you've got Attorney General's records, you've got county district attorney records, you've got county attorney records, and you've got township, you've got county supervisors or county boards of supervisors records, you've got newspaper records, the Lake George Mirror, the Adirondack Almanac, and the list just goes on and on and on, from the New York Times to the Albany Record, the Albany Times-Union, or the Troy Record, excuse me, the Glens Falls Post-Star, let's not forget the Post-Star, the Glens Falls Messenger, the Glens Falls Post. You've got history books, newspapers, you've got so many records that prove that my assertions in this video are accurate. It's absolutely mind-bending. But what we don't have is any record of the International Paper and Power Corporation, International Paper and Power Corporation, System Properties, or Enel Power, or Green Mountain Power, or the state of New York making any effort whatsoever to reimburse the private property owners that their damned dam operations have caused all this property damage. I've sent out Freedom of Information Law or Freedom of Information Act requests to the state. And where are your records on who's been reimbursed? Who's paid for all these damages that their ka-ching, 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 ka-ching massive money-making machine Dam A and the electric penstock, you know, the power penstock, they've made so much money from cooking the state's forests into paper. They've made a bloody, stinking fortune converting the state's forests into paper products, using Lake George as the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching money-making machine. And now they're using Lake Champlain in the same fashion as a giant toilet. Lake Champlain has had more shit dumped in it than you can possibly imagine. Ask the commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation of the state of New York about all the crap that International Paper Corporation has dumped into Lake Champlain for decade after decade after decade after decade after century, going on 2 centuries. They've been dumping huge amounts of shit into Lake Champlain. Oh, in the Hudson River and the Great Lakes and, you know, the Niagara River and the St. Lawrence River and every other river in the state of New York is used. And in the past, was, oh my God, used as open sewers. Open sewers. So, flushing water out of the Lake George toilet bowl. Yeah, we can talk about septic tanks and sewers leaking into Lake George all day long. And I got more records about that than you can possibly imagine from state and federal authorities. Lake George is full of sewage and chemicals, and the state authorities, the Lake George Park Commission, I've got records, they know it. Rensselaer Polytechnical Institution knows it. The Darren Freshwater Institute knows it. And the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, have all kinds of records about what I just said. So, again, who has paid for all the damages? Governor Andy Cuomo. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. And I want to bring this down to a personal level. The Sheriff of Warren County. Who's paid all these damages? Who reimbursed the Witham family? Mr. Carasone. Mr. Carasone's the district attorney for Warren County. Who is it precisely that reimbursed the Withams for the massive damages done to their marina again and again and again and again and again? Who paid for all these damages? Sheriff Bud York. Folks, I'm going to leave it right there. I think you get the idea of this video. And we'll leave it right there. And as always, hasta la vista. God bless, and you betcha we will be back.